That's what I like.
So, hello to all my subscribers. I'm finally getting my schedule correct. So today I want to talk about this because it just happened probably 10 minutes ago, and I want to talk about it while it's fresh, while my emotions are fresh. I just want to say, first off, this Uber ride was the weirdest fucking Uber ride I've ever had in my entire life. It was the strangest thing I ever fucking been through. It just wasn't okay. So, the Uber started off great because I was late getting to the Uber. The Uber was supposed to take me home, coming from somewhere else. But I wasn't waiting on the Uber. I was going to meet the Uber somewhere and then leave from there. But I went to go get some food. And long story short, they took a really long time with my food. I had to threaten to get a refund because, nobody likes giving away money. So then that's when they started to put some pep in the step, got me my food, and then I made it to the Uber. So I get in the Uber. She's like, blah, 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 Unaya, blah, 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 this and that. So I'm like, yeah, that's who I am. You taking me to so-and-so, my address and all of that. So she was like, okay, cool. And I was like, by the way, thank you for waiting. You real polite. Like, you the real OG, triple OG. So she's like, you welcome. I get the struggle, whatever. So she started asking me questions. And I'm like, okay, questions starting to get a little personal. She's like, so how old are you? And then me, personally, I don't know if I'm rude for this, but I don't like people who tell me their entire life story just off back. I don't like people who are just so open that they will tell you everything about themselves without you asking. So, of course, that's exactly who my Uber driver was. So she's like, oh, I got 2 daughters. They're 21, 24. And I'm like, oh, that's a great age. And she's like, no, it's not. I guess it depends on who you ask. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever, that's fine. Your opinion, your opinion. Of course, I'm not 21, so of course I think being 21 is great. But you're 50, so of course you think that 21 is nothing. And she continues to talk. She's like, I'm from Missouri. My family keeps telling me to leave Chicago. They don't want me to be here. It's really dangerous. But I'm like, I live in Homewood. So, come on, guys. And I was like, oh, cool, okay. It's really polite. You got to have a conversation because you can't just be rude and ignore the person. So I'm like, okay, well, Homewood is nice. Homewood can be a great place from time to time. I was just in Homewood, did a sip and paint for Mother's Day. She was like, oh, yeah, downtown. I was like, yeah. So once you hit that, that's kind of the end of the conversation because what else am I going to say? I just told you what I did. And then she goes into everything else. We hit the expressway. This is where shit goes crazy. We hit the expressway, and this woman acts like she never been on the expressway before. She was so afraid. First off, I just want to say that how Uber drivers, they have their phones, and normally they have something hanging from the windshield, like a little wire thingy, whatever, and then you put your phone in it, and it holds your phone, and you look up at it to see the directions, or your phone will read off the directions and tell you basically, my bra is slipping, where to go. No, she had the biggest fucking iPad sitting in her lap on the steering wheel, leaning on the steering wheel. And she was this close to the steering wheel. So how she's literally going like this, driving, going like this, driving at 10. I feel like any person who drives at 10 and 2 cannot drive. That's a scared position. When you at 10 and 2, everywhere you go, you cannot drive. That's it, period. You don't know how. You just can't. And that's just it. If you know how to drive, you comfortable. You got the one hand, and you don't need nothing. You leaning, you got your visor, your music bumping. There was no music. It was just completely silent, and with her very awkward conversation. And then so when we got on the expressway, she lost her shit completely. Was like, oh my God, people of Chicago drive so crazy. Was like, my mom comes to Chicago before she passed. God rest her soul. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. She was like, yeah, it's okay. And then went into a whole story about how her mom died. She fell down the stairs, and I was in the back seat like, damn, terrible way to die. Thank you for telling me that, because, you know, I'm a close family friend. I needed to know that. And then she's like, you know, my mama would always sit in the back seat just like you are, so scared, like, and I'm like, okay, well, I think that's a sign that you cannot drive. And so she's driving, continuing to drive, and I noticed that she's doing like 40 in the express lane, and the normal speed limit on the expressway is 60. So what are you doing? And then I'm just looking, the chair in front of me is directly in front of me. Normally it'd be like bent down or something like that, but whatever the case is, it was directly in front of me. I couldn't see. So really I'm just like peeking on the side, like, hey, I need to know what's going on, like, who you finna hit. I need to know so I can call my mom and tell her to get all my stuff in order for my funeral. All of that. So at this point, I'm like, this lady's gonna kill me. She's gonna kill me. She's gonna kill me in the most polite manner. And then when I'm dead, she's gonna apologize and then tell me another life story about all the apologies she's ever given anyone. And I'm so fucking afraid at this point. So she's really trying to have a conversation with me. 10 and 2, looking at the iPad in her lap, looking straight down, literally seconds at a time, because she cannot tell where she's going. She cannot read the app. She's like, the app is so difficult sometimes, and I don't know where I'm going. And I'm like, okay, well, just follow the signs, sweetheart. Follow the signs. Then she gets in the lane to go to Memphis. Completely, like, legit. Where it splits at, she's going to Memphis. I'm like, no, you cannot do that. Then she's like, tries to turns completely, gets into the other lane, and then 5 minutes later, she does it again, gets in the toll road lane, and then has to swerve again, like, has to, you know, make the look. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tuck and roll, you be prepared. So when there's no car behind me, I'm just gonna jump, okay? And then traffic disappears. There's no traffic really like that. So everybody's moving fast. Everybody is going and going and going. And she begins to pray. Legit, eyes closed, peeking, begins to pray. 10 and 2, iPad in lap. Oh, shit. Jesus Christ. And then goes, and then decides to open her eyes. I am in the back seat, shook. I'm fucking shook. Can I tell you how shook I am? And she proceeds to continue to go, and I'm like, I know we could have got off right there. We could have got off right there. We could have got off right there. At this point, I'm like, okay, I can tell you where to go from here. She's like, okay, because that'll be easier. That's easier. That's fine. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we'll do that, and then, you know, whatever the case may be. So she gets off where I tell her to get off. She makes a right, and she makes a left, and then she makes another right, and it says no turn on red. Of course, she turned on red. She's fucking me up at this point. Like, you're an Uber driver who cannot drive. You're trying to fucking kill me. Now I gotta beat your ass. That's just it. So she continues to drive, and I'm like, I keep giving her directions, like, you know, turn here, turn here. So we get to, like, my block, like somewhere around the corner from my block. We turn in, she turns. Another car turns out. So we're going this way. The car's coming this way, turns out. Nowhere near her. She completely stops. Slams on brakes. Stops everything she doing. Don't give a fuck about life. I had fries in my hand. Fries are everywhere. She just completely was like, oh my God. Sometimes you can just never tell with these people.